te kaunihera. E te atua kaharawa ko koe te tohu rangatira, te toho mataranga. Mana kitia mai mātou o pononga I tēnei rā, e mahi nei I a mātou mahi, mō te painga o ngā tangata o te kaunihera o Rotorua. Takua mai kia tau te rangi Mārie, ki runga I a mātou I ngā wā katoa, ko ihu karaiti hoki tō mātou ariki. Almighty God, who alone is the leader of all mankind and the fountain of all knowledge, send thy blessing upon us, your servants, this day, as we strive to do all things for the good, good for the betterment of the people of the Rotorua district. May we be tolerant in ourselves at all times, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Donaldson. I'll call now for any apologies. He is here, thank you. We have no apologies, actually. We're all here, so we don't have to put any motion to the vote. Are there any declarations of interest? There appear to be none. Are there any urgent items on the agenda? Councillor Gould and Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we have a discussion in the confidential section about the rates problem with Ngāti Whakawe and the Rotorua Lakes Council, and the response in the paper today by Thomas Chloe and the letters to the editor in the Daily Post?
On the issue, but it shouldn't be about letters to the editor. It should be the issue if you wish that to be discussed.
The legal action which has been going on for 4 years, that's the issue, and it was just being brought in the paper today that the response is it's going to a different court, it's going to the appeal court.
We can do that. We can give you an update on that in confidential. Thank you. Councillor Stewart.
Chair, in the confidential section I have 2 items which I would like to share with councillors regarding breaches of the Code of Conduct. Thank you.
You wish to raise that now?
Under the confidential section.
Under confidential, thank you. We'll note that. And Councillor Kumar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to talk about homelessness and if that could be done today or if it could be brought up in the next O&M meeting.
Yes, that's coming to O&M next week, and you'll get a full briefing and update on that. Thank you. Councillor Donaldson.
Yes, Your Worship, mine was on the same vein as Councillor Kumar. It was just a briefing for all councillors on the debrief held after the hikoi regarding homelessness the other day, just to bring everyone around the table up to speed in confidential.
Do you need that in confidential, or we're having a full briefing at O&M next week? Yeah.
No, Madam Chair, may I just say, I think it is important that councillors do get a...
Before.
Yes, please, thank you.
We move now to confirmation of council minutes. I'll let you get that up, Harold. So, a mover and a seconder that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 26th of April be a true and accurate record. Councillor Gould moved, seconded Councillor Bentley. All those in favour, please say aye. Recommendations from other committees. Is there a mover and a seconder? I'll take them all separately. A seconder for the motion that the report for recommendations from other committees be received. Do I have a mover? Councillor Rotorua Tate, seconded Councillor Donaldson. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. The first recommendation, number 1, is, thank you, I should read it out. Mudtopia 2017 final report. The recommendation states that no further Mudtopia festivals should be delivered by council, and that council enter into mutual negotiations with MB Major Events to cancel the Mudtopia investment agreement.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart, seconded Councillor Kent. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. A mover and a seconder that the following recommendation of the Strategy, Policy and Finance Committee meeting held on the 10th of May be adopted. Recommendation 1, that the Mayoral Manaakitanga Relief Fund approve the Mayoral Manaakitanga Relief Fund terms of reference and assessment committee membership, which is in your attachment 1. Thank you. Councillor Rokawa-Tate, seconded Councillor Maxwell. The motion is up for discussion if we need any discussion. I'd just like to let you know, which is nice news, that Bay of Plenty Regional Council has voted $20,000 to the Mayoral Flood Relief Fund by, look, I think that takes it up to over 50,000. So that's wonderful. And could I thank those in the public who have been very generous. It's wonderful to see the community response. Every dollar has helped, and we can give you an update later, I think, about the sort of cases that are coming through. We are administering the fund. The Minister was very keen to see that we were administering the fund. And they're very heartfelt cases, actually. And so your public contribution and Regional Council matched with ours and Central Government makes that difference that MB, Earthquake Commission and MSD can't reach. So I think it's a wonderful fund. Councillor Bentley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does Council have a cap on that, or is it unlimited?
Look, you can go as high as you like. It'll be from other contributors now. We've put our funding in, we matched the Crown, and Regional Council has also come in now. I'm aware of another council that's looking at taking a resolution to their council. So we are really learning about earthquake recovery now. Not the response period, the recovery period, and great lessons learned from Whakatane District Council in the Edgecombe recovery. And so the fund stays open, Councillor Bentley. The issue that would have to come to Council, I can see, is if it's not all dispensed, do we just hold it open? That's a consideration that a paper will come to Council at a later date. All right, I think we voted on that one, didn't we? Oh, all those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. A mover and a seconder for recommendation 2, vesting of Forest Place as a public road. That Forest Place be vested in Council as a public road and maintained by Council. I have a mover, Councillor Gould, seconder, Councillor Bentley. Is there any discussion? Put the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. The next is a mover and a seconder for the motion recommendation 3, the proposed remit to Local Government New Zealand's 2018 Annual General Meeting, that the proposed remit climate change investment issues be supported at the Local Government New Zealand Annual General Meeting in July 2018. Moved Karen Hunt, seconded Councillor Tapsell. Is there any discussion before I put the vote? All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. We move now to, I had in here if anyone wanted a break, but we've moved rather quickly, so we don't need a break. To staff reports, recommendation 1, page 28 in your order paper. Future management of the Aquatic Centre. Is there a mover and a seconder for the motion that this report, future management of the aquatic centre be received. Moved Councillor Gould, seconded Councillor Donaldson. I'll put the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Carried. I now ask Jamie Dallett, if you'd like to introduce Jamie to us, the writer of the report, and I dare say, is it Jamie going to lead this presentation of the report? Thank you, Henry.
So, kia ora, Your Worship, and kia ora koutou councillors. And yes, look, the main focus of today is to bring back to councillors really the findings from the independent panel's report. And so really grateful to have Jamie Dallett here today, who I think is probably recognised as New Zealand's leading thinker and practitioner in this sort of field of facility and aquatic centre management with more than 40 years experience, and currently is Sport New Zealand's senior advisor in terms of spaces and places. So really grateful to have you here, Jamie. And councillors, what we're thinking is that Jamie will take you through the findings of the independent panel's report. I'll just give a brief recap on where we've got to and then open it up for questions and discussion. So I'll just hand it on to Jamie.
Thanks, Henry. Kia ora, Your Worship, and councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today and effectively represent the views of not just myself but the panel. Am I controlling this? Just a really quick cap, your decision to go back and review and consider all management options, including an in-house proposal, was really the catalyst for engaging an independent panel to review the processes and the outcomes. So you'll be familiar with the three of us, Tama Hovel and Rob McDonald and myself. Our tasks that were set in the terms of reference were to effectively evaluate the range of information that had been provided and had subsequently led to Council's initial decision to look at an outsourced model for the management of the Rotorua Aquatic Centre. The Section 17A review, the comparison of the in-house proposal against the CLM proposal, and really I need to stress that they weren't compared against each other by the panel, rather they were compared against the RFP process, which set out the expectations and requirements that Council had agreed. Provide any advice that we perceived was needed to lift the in-house capability, and I guess have an overview and provide some advice on what the likely impact might be and any contractual obligations that might be impacted in the event that either an in-house or outsourced provision of management would impact on any future development opportunities. So we did, I guess in summary, we did go back to the start. We reviewed all the relevant information and the baseline of the desire to assess the management options and if they had been given due process and consideration throughout the time that the options for alternative management processes were being considered. In answer to the question, were all the management options adequately considered? We did review the Section A review of services, the operations and management review reports, the development reports and officers' subsequent reports that led to the recommendation previously to you as a council. The panel believe that the processes were robust and that the information that was provided by WA Consultancy was complete and adequately demonstrated the need for change. The The independent panel supports the decision, the earlier decision of council to move to an external management model. That was our resulting decision. In terms of comparison of the management models, we reflected on the need to evaluate those against the RFP and reminded ourselves as a panel that what we were assessing was the most effective and most efficient result for the management and operation of the facility going forward. We acknowledge that any models, any management and operation models can improve overall performance of a sport and recreation facility, but in the case of aquatic facilities, they are high cost, operate in a high cost, high risk environment, and they do require a special skill set of capability and experience. There was no debate amongst the panel that a philosophy that underpinned the delivery of services at the Aquatic Centre should be nothing less than collaborative and based on good teamwork, and that a move to a more bicultural expression of the place and sense of place that the Aquatic Centre has in the hearts of people in Rotorua was strongly supported. Our focus was really on the skills and capability to manage and operate what is a very expensive and risky facility in the most cost-effective and efficient way. The outsource model in the case of CLM offers some significant benefits around the ability to have consistent leadership and management in place, and I think the one thing that the panel identified is where both parties agreed is that leadership and management had been lacking in the past at the Aquatic Centre. So the ability to establish continuity through a company like CLM was that the ability to have the right skill sets in place on a continuous basis would be achieved, given the breadth and width and breadth of experience and facility knowledge that CLM possesses. And in summary, the comparison of the two proposals against the RFP criteria, the Te Puna proposal fell short of demonstrating the experience required to successfully manage and operate the facility compared to the response that CLM had had to the RFP process. We were asked to identify what would be required to lift the Aquatic Centre's performance, and our basis for determining that was really based on the information and the reviews that WA Consultancy had carried out and were forwarded to the panel. And again, we all recognised, and both parties recognised, the need for improved performance. CLM have a proven experience and track record at improving levels of service. The reference sites that were provided as part of the RFP process are clear examples of good practice and compliance in a range of systems and processes. But above all, I just reiterate that they will provide the continuity of leadership and management that the facility deserves and requires. By comparison, to provide the ability to lift leadership and management would take at least 12 to 18 months and comes with risks about the ability to recruit and retain the right personnel in those leadership roles. And there's no guarantees that the performance and cost savings will be realised, and it's a risk that would be retained by council and not moved to an outsourced company. In terms of implications of a change in management, whether it's in-house or outsourced, and what likely implications that would have on external investment opportunities The panel were pretty clear that they believe that these two things need to be uncoupled, that your immediate need now is to restore good leadership and management and processes and systems at your existing aquatic centre. That's the problem and the decision that you face right now. We don't believe that in either an in-house or an outsourced situation that this would impact your ability to attract investment or indeed proceed with development proposals. We believe that the risk still exists that you may or may not attract the level of investment or interest that you aspire to attract. But I guess your responsibility is to make sure that that the facility, the aquatic centre, is operating and delivering a range of services to the best of its ability right now, and we don't believe that will be impacted. So, to give you some protection, the panel believe that you should include in your arrangement with any service provider the ability to exit or negotiate your ability to have that flexibility and agility to respond to investment opportunities and demonstrate that through your contract with whoever the service provider is. So coming to the end, you'll have read in the report that we did have some recommendations and some suggestions. We do support the move to an external management model. We believe that is the most effective thing for council to do in the short, medium and long term. We do support the need for a stronger commitment to biculturalism, and we believe that in any situation, in-house or outsourced, if that is the desire of the council, that can be achieved. The exit provision, again, just reiterating, give yourself some flexibility and enable you to cancel the contract if this becomes a barrier to future investment opportunities, which are yet to be guaranteed or are in place. So that really brings me to sort of a quick summary and overview of the review that the panel undertook, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for that, Jamie. It's very succinct, and I'm sure there will be questions. There's been a 6-month really hiatus where we've seen a high level of community concern, so that will raise some questions, I'm sure. Any councillors wish to? Charles, Medipeka, Peter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Jamie, for coming before us today to illustrate the matters that you've raised in your independent response to the request from Councillor Kent's motion, supported by the majority of this council, to assess all management options. Just one question I have is, did you have access to the 17A analysis and all other documents from the union, from the Friends of the Aquatic Centre, the staff's in-house management proposals, and CLM's proposal? Did you have all those documents before you?
Yes, the panel did have access to all those.
Councillor Rotorua.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Tēnā koe, Jamie. Thank you for your presentation. The future investment opportunities, and I hear, if I'm correct, that you're saying that should be looked at separately, but it wasn't, because it was put to councillors as a part of the selling of the whole outsourcing, was actually the opportunity to have future investors look at us better, in a better light. But what you're saying is that you didn't take that into consideration when you were looking at the two models? Because I think that's actually quite important.
Kia ora, Councillor. And look, I'll just jump in quickly and then Jamie can come. I think we're probably talking about two things here. When we were talking about the investment, potential investment implications through the independent panel review, really that was looking at the potential huge investment into the future, the massive sort of splash palace kind of thing, rather than the investment to upgrade and improve the facility. So particularly Councillor Kent was concerned to ensure that anything we did wouldn't stop that future large-scale investment. So rather than the investment in facility we've talked about through the LTP process, this was quite specifically directed at the wider.
Thank you, but I'm just trying to ascertain that future investors could have come about with an in-house management or indeed with the CLM proposal. That's all I'm trying to ascertain. And what you're saying is, in actual fact, yes. Jamie, is that correct?
The panel did make the comment in the report that CLM has a background and a track record of capital investment into facilities that it manages and operates. I think it cited the example of Palmerston North, where it partnered with a commercial provider to install water play opportunities and hydroslides. So we did make reference to the ability for CLM to invest capital, but not on the scale that Council was considering in its overall larger development, longer-term larger development project, which we obviously supported as a panel, and Sport New Zealand has provided a letter of support for your aspirations around future development to Lotteries Grants Board, which I think will be meeting next week to make a decision on allocation of funds for the significant projects fund. So we wish you well on that.
Thank you. Now we've got Councillor Bentley.
Sorry, I might have been a bit early, Madam Chair. I just want to speak to the 2.2 recommendation. When it comes up, I wish to make an amendment.
Yeah, these are just questions, really, at this stage for clarification. Councillor Donaldson, Councillor Gould, then Councillor Kent.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Jamie, I'm not sure if you've got the recommendation to councillors in our agenda in front of you, but at point 3 in the recommendation, council's being asked to note at 3, subparagraph 3, the differential in time, costs and risks associated with both models. And at paragraph C of that, it talks about a 12-month delay, which I think you've all also mentioned. In sticking with the in-house model, a 12-month delay to find the right leadership management team, associated recruitment, etc. And there's some numbers in subpara A of that recommendation about the quantum of cost saving in going with an outsourced management model. So I've got 2 questions. Do you sort of concur with those as a sort of a level of costs, a time frame in getting an in-house management model in place? And I've often been asked, what has council done to manage the managers in the past? Is there a potential for increased costs to council if it goes with an in-house model above what we've had in the past to operate the facility? And then the second part of my question is, how important is an effective, proven management model in attracting external investment into the facility?
So there were really 3 questions there. The first was the costs as put before us as a committee.
Those costs in terms of demonstrated savings are consistent with what the information that the panel received. We did scrutinise the CLM proposal and believe that that was an achievable level of saving. In answer to the question, will there be a cost implication? There will certainly be time and cost implication in terms of establishing management and leadership in an in-house situation. 12 months sounds a long time, but the reality is that recruitment would take at least 6 months. and if it wasn't an in-house appointment, then the familiarity and orientation into the role, and being in that situation personally, it takes at least 12 to 18 months to understand the variances and the requirements of a facility of that size and complexity. So the last question was around the ability to attract investment.
Yeah,
was that
having an effective and proven management model in place, how important is that in attracting external investment into the facility?
I think really important. You could look at it in two ways. If the facility has opportunities, they will exist in terms of developing and expanding and a demand for a range of attractions and program opportunities. They'll exist in any in-sourced or outsourced management environment. Certainly a well-run, well-respected, well-maintained facility would give investors more confidence that the facility was, I guess, well cared for and unlikely to have any underlying issues that would come along with any investment.
Thank you. Councillor Gould.
Chair, thank you for your report today. I've got two questions to Mr Weston. Concerning the last paragraph of the gentleman's report, you recommend an exit clause to be included in the contract. Now, is that exit clause going to be included in the contract, which we do with CML, the proposed CML? And the other question is the CML contract still 5 years from the date of signing?
It's just a correction, Councillor Gould, it's CLM, and you wanted Henry to answer that, not... Okay.
And thanks, Councillor. Certainly in terms of the first issue around the exit clause, I think one of the reasons we got the independent panel in place was to enable them to provide their expert advice to us. I think we would be pretty loath to go against that. I think the recommendation's clear to us that there should be an exit clause, and we'd back that. Second issue, look, the proposal we've put to you has been for a 5+5 year contract. That was the basis of the original contract. So 5 years, a renewal of all the conditions are met to the satisfaction of both parties.
Excuse me, Your Worship, I could just add to that. It's, in terms of, it's not an indictment on CLM's ability to be involved in any plans for redevelopment. I would like to think that they would be a willing partner in any negotiation for development and growth of the centre. But it's really there to make sure that the council maintains that flexibility in the event that it did become a barrier to you achieving what you wanted to achieve. And I guess in the worst case scenario, the cost of exit would be negligible compared to the level of investment that you were wanting to undertake.
Thank you. Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you. Thank you for your report, Jamie, and for your work on this, which has put my mind at rest on the one thing that was really bugging me, which was what you've picked up on, the requirement to include an exit provision. Should something come along that says, hey, this is a much better idea, someone's going to come in, put a large amount of money in, we can have a splash planet, we can have whatever. My concern was that if we were already locked into an external model, that would preclude it or prohibit it or adversely affect it. I'm pleased to see that your advice is to put an exit provision in. I assumed, therefore, that there wasn't one in the earlier agreement. And I'm also very pleased to see that CLM have indicated in their letter in response to your report that they are open to that clause being inserted in the agreement, which is very comforting. My question, to put my mind completely at rest, is you've compared the CLM proposal and the staff management proposal on the basis of the RFP criteria. In your opinion, do you think there was anything in the RFP criteria that particularly counted one way or the other against either. In other words, was it a fair comparison basis?
I guess just to establish that the RFP process is the industry standard. So the RFP is not a standalone evaluation document that that council officers or the earlier panels evaluated against. It is a consistent best practice model for evaluating management and operation. So the systems and processes that are required to ensure that the facility meets its compliance around risk mitigation, health and safety practices, achieving health standards, whether it's water treatment or air quality. So in answer to your question, yes, the RFP offers the criteria that is consistent with evaluating proposals against management and operational best practice.
Thank you.
Councillor Maxwell, then Kumar, and then Tapsell.
Thank you very much, Jamie. I just have one important question, I think. I've been reading all the reports with interest, and the one that's come to me from Te Puna Hapori Working Group, and they've recommended some things in that to us. And one of their recommendations asking us to consider going back to the drawing board and all that thing. The question I want to ask is the one that they've got here about, and consider the staff proposal properly. Can you assure me that the independent panel made up of you guys who are independent, by the way, did consider the staff proposal properly?
The simple answer is yes. We made every effort, and we think that the panel represented the skills that were required to evaluate both proposals properly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Jamie Dallage. Mine is a very simple question, and it comes from seeing your recommendations. But I can't see, and I ask you, through your recommendations, will it be a better, happier workplace for the workers?
I'm going to rule that out of order. We'd all like to see that, but that's not something when you're going through an RFP proposal, but you might want to refer to the rigour of management and leadership that I heard you talk about.
Well, I'm sure the in-house team will know that success comes through effective teamwork, and that includes leadership and management and the direction that is set. We all work hard for developing harmonious and effective and rewarding workplaces. My observation is that, well, I'm sure that's certainly the situation. My observation that CLM work hard at leadership and management to deliver on those outcomes, and I'm sure that the current in-house team are doing so to their best ability as well. So, yeah, as you're right, Your Worship, that's the ultimate outcome.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Jamie, for providing this expert advice. It was important for us to get an independent view. My question just comes from your report back to us on page 4. You say the CLM proposal provides a guaranteed cost savings of $800,000. So I just wanted to question the variation in the $800,000 you've provided and the $700,000 that we've been provided, and also like to thank staff for providing in this report a little bit more detail around that $700,000 and where it comes from, because that was a bit of a concern from those in the community and ourselves on just some detail. So I'm just wondering what the variation was for the extra $100,000 in savings, and were you given any other information to come to that conclusion?
Councillor, if it's okay, I'll jump in first again, because we're probably responsible for a bit of the variation in numbers, and let Jamie jump in over the top. But you'll remember going right back to November, we essentially gave two sets of numbers. One was a set of numbers which was based on the budget, and that averaged probably around about 700,000 a year. The other set of numbers we gave was based on the actual spend in the aquatic centre over those same years, and that was close to the 800,000. So generally speaking, we're referring to the saving as being on average 700,000. But yeah, in terms of actual spend, it may well be higher.
Just to clarify why there's 800,000 figure in the independent panel's reviews report. So we took this was taken specifically from CLM's proposal, which we were evaluating against the RFP in terms of the price attribute. So they were saying it would be a spread from 750 to 850. So we took some license and split the difference and sort of took the median figure. But obviously some time has passed, and council officers have done some more work on what the more likely figure would be of 700. So sorry to create any confusion there.
And I've got a question too, that in the staff-led proposal, there were some aspects that back even in November that we quite liked, and I'm not sure if they can be reflected through in any contract with CLM, and that was the community support group and the cultural component. And I don't know CLM as operators other than where I hear really their informal reports back about whether that's a very strong focus for them, because it is for us.
Yep, and I think any contractual arrangement or understanding needs to reflect your needs as a council, and the panel did recognise that more community engagement and a move to greater biculturalism was certainly a desirable outcome that should be reflected in the relationship with any external provider and obviously the in-house bid if that's the direction council chooses to go.
So that's for us to consider, whether it goes in the statement of intent or whether in the contract.
Yes.
I understand. Thank you. Are there any further questions before we move to a motion? Councillor Donaldson?
Happy to move a motion, Your Worship.
Yes. And so did Councillor Bentley. So he had his hand up before you, so we'll step it through.
With regard to the motion that's recommendation 2, I'd like to move an amendment or a change to it. Is this the right time to do it?
Yes, you're wanting to put a motion, you're quite entitled to, and you'll need a seconder.
I move that the council resolve to continue to manage the aquatic centre and develop an in-house model using the co-design process proposed in the memo from Te Ruku Whakahaere, dated 24 May 2018.
Is there a seconder? There appears to be no second. Oh, are you seconding that motion? Okay, you want to put that motion to the vote? We can debate it? Yes. You'd second that, thank you. Is there any debate around the motion? You're entitled to debate, Councillor Bentley.
I firmly believe that we've got to get alongside this group of people that have dedicated so much time and effort into resolving this issue, and I do not think that our advisors have taken into account fully the passion that they are feeling for this issue.
And that's your debate. All right. Any further debate? Councillor? That's the motion. Yes, you've got the wrong, I think Councillor Maxwell's quite rightly It's been corrected. It wasn't put forward by them. Right, Councillor Rotorua, you wish to debate?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to thank Councillor Bentley for putting the motion. Unfortunately, I will not be able to support it. But I do want to tell you that I believe that the Aquatic Centre is unique in New Zealand. It sits on gifted iwi land to this city. There are a significant number of Māori who work there. They have put forward an opportunity for biculturalism to be incorporated in the future of the future operations and how they do business at the Aquatic Centre. So that's why it's quite unique, and that's why there has been so much interest from not only the staff, but also from the community as well. I can really see why this has, I can understand why Councillor Bentley has put this and Councillor Kumar has seconded it. But I am grateful for the opportunity today to hear from Jamie with his report as well. But I do say that at some time in the future, we have to ensure that what components of their proposal, of the in-house proposal, have to be incorporated. I think that has to be done. And, to ask an organisation, and don't tell me about the fact that they manage, these things all around the country. If you're talking about a bicultural component and a different way of operating, they wouldn't know the first thing about it. This is our business in Rotorua. That's what we do the best of in terms of making sure we have a tikanga Māori approach, a kaupapa Māori approach to things. And this is what I want to ensure gets incorporated in anything in terms of the future of the Aquatic Centre. Thank you. I just wanted to put that on record. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Debate? I would just like to say I won't be supporting that motion either. And I do want to draw your attention to CLM, but I think we will do it the Rotorua way, as you say, Councillor Rotorua. But they point out in their letter back that's in our paper that their experience in working with Māori and community entities ensures we have extensive experience in this area. Furthermore, they're open to inserting a clause into a management contract to account for any possible future development. So I feel a level of comfort, but it's how we structure that contract that I think needs to reflect exactly your sentiment. Right, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary?
No.
No. Do you want a show of hands? All those in favour? The motion is lost.
The Council resolved to conclude negotiations with CLM for management of the Aquatic Centre as per Council Resolution 23rd of November 2017.
Seconded.
Madam Chair, in speaking to the motion where I didn't speak against the other motion, I think the Councillor Kent's motion to go with putting it to an independent panel, whilst I opposed that at the time, has actually opened up the issue, and for me it's galvanised the fact that we as a community must move with an outsourcing model. I was pleased and delighted to receive the letter from CLM quite clearly that you just quoted, Madam Chair, stating that, and I take on board what Councillor Kawate said, the Rotorua way is the way that we have to engage and go forward. I note in the response from one of the groups that they question the independence of the panel, and they also believe the panel has been biased, that they unfairly weighted in favour of the outsourcing option, and they accused council management, which wasn't council's management's role, it was the independent panel's role, and they criticised in their proposal saying the council management did not go back to the drawing board and properly consider all management options, including the staff proposal. In answer to my question, the panel leader quite clearly had all the information. That's why I asked the question. Did he have a robust engagement with all the information that he had from the 17A right through? I want to applaud Henry, you and your team, in terms of the courtesy you afforded the union and the staff by forwarding the panel's report to them for them to consider. I think that's really great. I think the request for proposal, and then to question the independence of the panel, the request for proposal was the only criteria on which we got proposals in the first place. I do acknowledge, and I think Henry acknowledged it, that there have been leadership issues in the past at the Aquatic Centre, and I want to go into confidential a little bit later on, because I've certainly had letters and emails from not only major users but small users of the Aquatic Centre sharing some of the experiences that they've had, and I need to ask the HR manager whether some of these issues are correct or not. There's two issues for me why I support the outsourcing. Is the management we are talking about, not the investment. We're talking about the running of an aquatic centre. We have a company that has a proven track record in Palmerston North, Nelson and Whangarei. And Whangarei do it the Whangarei way, and there's an iwi and bicultural component up there as well. So these people have a track record that's not 5 years, it's 22 years in the business. They are leaders in this industry, and I employ my colleagues to take on board all the information and support the motion.
Councillor Maxwell. And then we'll go down. Sorry, I apologise. It was Councillor Kent next,
Right.
Councillor Hunt, and then Councillor Maxwell, and then I'll dance back to Councillor Gould.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm proposing to move an amendment which Councillor Sturt and Councillor Donaldson may well agree with. The way that reads at the moment, nothing would change from the original contract with CLM as in November.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that we add the words on the end, comma, varied to include an exit provision as per 3.4 below, and noting 3.1 below.
You happy with that, Councillor Donaldson? Thank you, Councillor Kent. Now, Councillor Hunt.
I'm going to speak for the motion because I don't believe that more of the same is an option at all. I know we've struggled with management over a large number of years with this aquatic centre. It's hard to attract good staff, and it's hard to attract those staff that have support, background and a history in the business. And we've failed in that department for our community. And this is an opportunity to provide a well-managed centre by people who know what they're doing. And I'm particularly reassured, and I hope the community is, and I believe many will be, by the answer about the request for proposal, that it is an industry standard. It is not something that our staff just put together, but it's actually used to measure all facilities around the country. Any council looking at what we're looking at would have used this exact criteria to measure them. And I don't believe that any amount of time that at any point, what I've seen today, would the community's proposal actually measure up on that. And so I believe that the exit strategy is a great cause for comfort for our community and the council, and that, again, I'll reiterate the work in Whangarei with their bicultural community. That's a particular upper north response, and we will have a particular Rotorua Te Arawa response to that. So I believe that they are quite capable, and not only capable but extremely willing to do that. And I believe that, as has been said before, we'll not only have savings, but there is a potential. They have tendered in the past in other regions to invest in places they run, and I hope that that's a potential that is realised for our community, that they do choose after a time to invest in this if this recommendation goes through. So I fully support it. I do thank the community for their work. I know they're passionate about the aquatic centre, and are passionate about the staff, and I know that it'll take a little time to move on from this, but I do in my heart believe this is the right thing for our community.
Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For me, and I thank the independent panel for the work that they've done, because that's helped me with my decision to support, which has come back to support what Council had originally put out. So I'm supporting the recommendation that is on the table at the moment. And also thank you for answering the question to Jamie, the one I asked. And you gave me the assurance that the staff proposal was properly looked at, so that you can weigh it up independently, give us an answer. Something I'm thinking about, why over the past 6 months has this gone on, and there's been a lot of hurt, a lot of mamai. What have we learned from this? And I think one is, if we're going to do anything of a similar nature, work with the staff. And I think we have been assured by our senior staff that they had been working with the staff. But maybe it's working harder somehow. And then perhaps we would not have had a march on the council that brought in a lot of hurt and mamai, and the loss of about 6 months also. So, yes, thank you. I'll be in supporting the motion that's on the table.
Yes, Councillor Gould.
Madam Chair, I note today that we've added the exit provision, which is very good. I also note that in the community you've got part of the community who want an in-house operation, you've got part of the community who appreciate a CML proposal. I also note that the swimming down at the aquatic centre want a good operator. But I've got two main concerns. One is that the term of 5 years is too long. And two, if the proposal goes ahead as CLM as tenant, what extra costs this council could incur in upkeeping the maintenance, or what requests are made by CML to improve the aquatic centre, where at this particular stage of the financial period of the Rotorua Lakes Council, we do not have a lot of money to spend on maintenance as we're putting money into the museum.
The LTP detailed what our financial commitment was in terms of capital spend and upkeep and maintenance at the aquatic centre. Thought we'd had that debate.
Outside of this debate. Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, just briefly, Your Worship, support the comments of colleagues in support of the proposal as is being moved. And I note also that the independent panel did include an accountant from Deloitte's looking at the cost savings, and so I don't think Councillor Gould's concerns are warranted at all. And for a council that has endured a number of shocks to its operational costs over recent years, the savings in this model are significant. And also, I feel for the staff who this has dragged on now for quite some time, and another 12 months in recruiting and restructuring for an in-house model is completely unpalatable. So I'm totally in support of moving on with this proposal.
Councillor Bentley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Kent. Sorry, it was Councillor Kent and then Bentley. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. It was me that originally challenged the decision back in November and brought us to where we are today. And the main reason for that was my concern that by going to outsourcing, we were potentially going to stifle a future Splash Planet or whatever for Rotorua. That was my main concern. I'm very pleased that under the panel's recommendation and under the resolution that's being put, that is addressed, and that is no longer an issue in my mind. The second issue that was of concern to me that came out during this whole process was to whether, in fact, the staff have been given the right opportunity to actually put forward their views, their case and their input. I'd like to thank the staff and those that were involved with them for the effort that they have put in to trying to show Council what they want to achieve for our aquatic centre and for the future of Rotorua. And they should be congratulated for that. And I'm quite sure as a result of that, we will see stronger engagement models. We will see stronger bicultural approach taking part in what is going to happen coming from CLM. And that gives me a greater level of comfort. The other thing that concerned me was some claims as to whether the staff proposal was being assessed fairly. And the panel have assured me, and I thank Jamie and the other members of this panel for the work that they've done here, to say that it has been fairly assessed. It has been assessed on the basis of an RFP criteria which was not biased in any direction, but was fairly trying to assess what is best for the future of the aquatic centre. The net result of all that is I am 100% completely satisfied that the resolution before us now is the correct decision for the future of the aquatic centre for Rotorua. I therefore give it my 100% support.
Thank you. Councillor Bentley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can't support this proposal. What this means to me is that this council has admitted that it doesn't know how to run an aquatic centre operation. It doesn't know how to employ staff of suitable competence to be able to get it and work it. And I actually find that quite an embarrassing situation as a councillor, admitting that we don't know how to employ people.
Point of order, Madam Chair. I think that comment was actually quite inappropriate and puts into question the capabilities of our current staff. I do not believe that they are incapable at all.
You're entitled to a view, and this is a debate. And I want to speak in support of the amended motion, and I want to talk about a little bit about the process, because I felt very confident even in November. And I felt confident about it because this is an asset that we all love. But we knew that we could raise the bar. It wasn't about poor management. It was about doing better and getting professional expertise in beside us for a facility that I'm very proud of. But boy, it needs investment, which is another issue. Without having the expertise that we will get now with this model that we're voting on today, I'd be a bit wary of investing. So I feel a lot more confidence now, but I've enjoyed the due diligence that the independent panel have put to looking at the proposal. And I think we've got there. And I just want to say to those that were involved in the journey and raising your issues to us, as staff, we've heard your concerns, but our concerns as council are about listening to your concerns, valuing the asset as a community asset, but making sure that we show due diligence about stewardship of our council assets and that we get the best rate of return. So I am very supportive of this. I like the amendment that are included, and I really want to get on with it. This has been a very, quite a schism in our community, as you mentioned, Councillor Maxwell, and many of us have felt it quite personally. And I think it was not, I think those that were involved tried to be thoroughly decent and respectful during the process, but there have been many barbs that have been fired quite inappropriately, actually, about our right as councillors to make decisions on behalf of the wider community. But I think we've got there today, and I hope that schism closes very quickly and that we can all work together. So I'm in support of the motion. A right of reply, Councillor?
just like to speak before you have the right of reply. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. It's interesting, Your Worship, that you, in your summing up just now, you mentioned the process. To me, it's had a bad smell about it right from the start. I have to be honest. I don't know what it was. I don't know if we were taken down a certain road. I've heard the rationale for why, right since we started, and it's never really quite sat well with me. I agree with Councillor Bentley. You know, I didn't realise that it was so poorly managed. And I saw it up there today, that apparently we don't have the staff on board who've got the skills to manage and operate the aquatic centre. Now, we've got people, staff, who probably think, well, what the hell am I doing here? You know, if that's the way I'm being viewed by the organisation, that to me, that's not a good look. That's not a good look. And I do agree with Councillor Bentley. It shows that we haven't had the leadership in this organisation sitting around this table to hire the right people and to put the management, all the systems in place to make sure that it was going to give us the cost efficiencies that we want of it. So, yes, I really feel that I haven't enjoyed this. I really haven't enjoyed this. I think we've missed an opportunity. I think we have. I think I'm very much into these days co-designing and co-development and co-funding, actually. That's part of some of the other work that I do. So I haven't enjoyed the process, and I'm going to vote for it. I want us to get on with it, but I think there are some learnings here for us as a council and how we manage when we're going into a change management process. My own view is that New Zealand has never done it well. I don't believe we have done it well in this instance, and I think there are some learnings here for the council in the future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councillor Stewart, right of reply.
Thank you, Your Worship, and can I thank my colleagues for their contributions. I think the 17A process was the start of the whole matter, and in that it outlined, and that's why I asked the panel, did they have a copy of the 17A? In that it outlined the shortcomings with management. We couldn't attract a manager after the last one left to the standard that was required. So I want to thank my colleagues. In particular, I want to thank Councillor Kent for his drive to make sure that all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. And accordingly, Councillor Okawa with her comments, making sure she wasn't comfortable with the process. And I think that's one of the things we as elected representatives have to put up with, is that sometimes we have to make decisions that are uncomfortable. I think what it's illustrated to me, and I spoke to Councillor Kent after the last motion was passed, is that we around this council table have to rely on the experts to give us advice, whether it's with your district plan matters or the CMA process or this process. If we haven't got the expertise around this table, we go outside and get the independent. And Councillor Kent's motion was that we go independent, that we have no bias. We got the report, we've got to accept it. I find it untenable that someone is now handing over the top of us the threat of a judicial review because we haven't handled the process properly. It's in your writings attached. I got an email regarding that during the week. I see this as an opportunity now. CLM have got a wide cross-section of facilities throughout New Zealand. The job opportunities and the promotion opportunities for staff who excel in this particular area will be enhanced. You know, I'm really looking forward to that. Councillor Okawa brought up the bicultural aspects. I think that was one of the first things that was acknowledged when the staff or the union proposal came through, was that this council wanted that to be part of it. And we've got a bicultural playground coming. I mean, if we weren't in that business, we wouldn't be going down that path either. I think, Madam Chair, I thank members for supporting the motion, and I think some days, whilst you lean towards this faction or that faction, at the end of the day, we're charged with acting in the best interests of our ratepayers. And I'm quite comfortable that the motion moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Donaldson meets that criteria. So I implore you to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. and I will put the motion that the Aquatic Centre resolve to conclude, that Council resolve to conclude negotiations with CLM for management of the Aquatic Centre as per the Council resolution of 23rd of November, varied to include an exit provision as per 3.4 and note in 3.1 below. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Want a show of hands? All those in favour? Contrary? The ayes have it. And could I thank you for coming to present the independent panel report today. It is helpful to know that there is always that external advice available to us. Thank you very much. We move on now to a resolution to go into public excluded. There are 4 items for consideration in public excluded. Reconsideration of all elements within the provisional local alcohol policy that were appealed against. Concept design for Sir Howard Morrison Performing Arts Centre. Proposed establishment of an independent advisory panel for the Nongataha flood event, and legal advice. Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Tapsell. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. And we'll have a 5-minute break.